Dive deep and learn a little bit about things happening in the Port of Shelton. Good morning to y'all.
Good morning.
Happy to see you here. And as we move close to turning the page into September and the fourth quarter of the year, that means budget time is right around the corner. I know you guys are working close on that. And again, as we talk about the budget, what's the number of folks in the Port District that work towards that tax base that they pay for?
We've got, 15,000 voters?
16,000
voters in the district.
And how does that work to square with the, because you guys do business and work for the entire county at times, but the Port of Shelton is its own district. So how do you go ahead and look to reach out to the folks outside the Port District who may use the services of the port?
How do we look to them to get
how do they either get information from them on things you could do better, or get perhaps some additional monies from them if they come in and use the services at the port, things like that?
Well, it would be typically by a user fee or
Sure.
a lease rate if they were a tenant that didn't live within the district, but they
In fact, a lot of them don't.
Yeah.
A lot of them have their business in the district. Yeah.
So it's just based on the fees. Yeah, we don't actually generate any tax dollars from them. But the difference is, our tax dollars are fairly low. We don't ever hit our maximum. We tend to, and we're striving to make that even better.
Sure.
So it's a pretty small amount of our budget is for tax. I think in the last couple of years, I think this year it was about $740,000. Our overall budget is getting close to, including that, it's getting close to almost $3 million.
Wow.
So,
And the other monies comes from rental, monthly
user
rent,
fees,
and stuff like that?
yeah.
which is exactly what we were going to share with you.
Oh, well, wonderful. What do you got for me
We got
then?
some good stuff here.
Yeah, our commission meeting was yesterday, and one of the things we like to do is to update the commission on, profit and loss, and it was for the first half of the year, basically, so through June of 2018. And things are looking great.
Yep.
We're our revenues are, we should be about 50% in. Our revenues are about 46.9, so pretty darn
We're right
close.
on
target.
Nice.
Right on.
Expenses are what's really fascinating. They're only at 41.3%.
Oh, so a little...
So we've been cutting a
great.
lot.
Yeah.
Good job.
So we were projecting a loss this year just due to projects and various things, overall loss. But we're actually sitting halfway through the year at a net income of $125,000. So
When you look at other ports around the state, how are they when it comes to profits or losses? Is it mostly revenue neutral for these ports, or are there ones,
It
obviously,
depends
like
on
the
the
Seattle
port,
one
but-
is gigantic, I
Yeah,
know,
it
but
depends on the port, but I think generally it's revenue neutral.
uh-huh.
yeah,
Yeah, they earn enough money to pay their bills, and as we do.
yeah.
So-
I think the biggest thing that's differing from different municipalities, cities, counties, is that we're not tax driven. We don't have to rely on that tax dollar
Right.
money.
Oh, okay.
It's more of an extra, so to speak. It's not extra. It's part of our budget. It's included, but it doesn't drive our bottom line. That's just the money we make like a business. So ports we're just set up differently, and we're able to be treated more like a business, but we also have the rules of the government entity,
Right.
Yeah.
with open public meetings and that kind
Right.
of thing. So,
If at the end of the year you have a fair amount of money that seems to be left over, does it go into a rainy day fund, or does it go into reinvestments of the buildings you have on the different sites? Or we were talking with Dale and Jerry earlier today about the sewer versus septic capabilities in Johns Prairie and the marina and stuff like that. So how do you determine what you're going to put those potential extra monies to?
we
Well,
usually, we don't really have rainy day. We're a bottom line budget, and so we, unlike state government and different entities, we don't have to spend it down to get it the next time. So it just, it stays. We just have reserves all over the place. So one of the things we just did a couple of years ago is we created a road fund. We created a capital fund. So we have these different funds we're contributing to every year as part of our budget that typically don't get spent, and so those are our reserves, on our own. And so we're upping the road fund. We maintain all our own roads. A lot of people
Right.
don't know that. They assume, the county comes in and chip seals and all that.
Right.
It's all on us. And so to have those things in place, and then building reserves,
Right.
when you're constantly, you have these old buildings and then they're constantly needing a roof or a foundation, or they need,
Painting,
paving
whatever,
or
Repairs.
painting. Yeah,
Right.
there's different, our tenants are responsible for the majority of those, repairs, but we are responsible for, the roof and the concrete
structure,
foundations. And so those reserves are super important, over time, and we found that in a not so good way that you're kind of scrambling to
Yeah,
always,
right.
oh man, we got all these roofs that are, in disarray. So we're getting better at that.
Oh, good.
Oh, very
So
nice.
when you see things like losses on our books, it's kind of like your own budgeting. If you're putting money in your savings, you're not really losing that money. You're keeping that money, and it's for a good reason.
Right.
And
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Is there ever conversations, and I'm not sure how you would even start these, we were, again, talking about the Johns Prairie area with Dale and Jerry about the septic. It's all septic up there.
Right.
If you were to ever think about running sewers to allow more capacity, how do you start those conversations? Is that
Well-
with Public Works or with the county? Is it a partnership, or is that
Well,
something you even think about?
Yeah, we do think about that. And one of the limiting factors for the Johns Prairie property is that it's on septic.
Yeah.
And the nearest sewer is essentially at the city line.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had discussions with the city about extending the line out to Johns Prairie, but it's, once again, the sewer is paid for by the ratepayers that are using it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just cost prohibitive for us to put it in, and the city, unless you have enough ratepayers to pay for it all the way out there. And
So
so
if-
you got a couple of miles,
Yeah.
I don't know, 3-4 miles
yeah.
Sure.
of sewer that would have to be put in, that there just isn't the demand for it at this point.
Yeah.
That, and I don't think it's planned at this point.
Yeah, it's
so
not
that's
planned either.
actually a good topic of discussion that's coming. EDC just kind of did an industrial land study. They get requests all the time from Commerce. They pass those through, call us up. Hey, do you have property that serves? And every time we get one, we think, oh, Johns Prairie. But typically, a large manufacturing business needs sewer.
Yes.
So we're not ready for that. So that's a big, the study they did kind of said, well, hey, should we start talking about this? When do we get ready? And, I said, absolutely. So, I think between the county, city, and I, and then EDC will kind of run that, we'll start to have that conversation
good.
and bring the
Right.
commissions in, to weigh in, the council and the commissions. And,
Sure.
Yeah.
and just have that discussion because, how do we grow if we don't have it planned?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm in part of this administrators group that was started long time ago that meets once a month, and EDC kind of organizes that. But it's no elected officials, but it's just a lot of us around town that are hospital or school or port, city, county, whoever, and it's just to discuss who's doing what, and we're not repeating things, but it's a good valuable meeting. And one of the things I'd love to see, and we've talked about it at port meetings in Eastern Washington, they actually took that one step further. Where the PUD set up a substation, the port bought property, the city put in utility, and then they got a big, large, fruit producer or something
Right.
to come in. So let's take that, maybe to this industrial lands, and work together and do something like
Yeah.
that.
And they
I'd love
did
to
that
see
up around the Port of Tacoma, too. They
Okay.
had a big consolidated work group together with city, county, Port of Tacoma, designing rail crossings, road accesses, and things like that, because it's a big, heavy industrial area,
Yeah.
and everybody runs over the city streets up there, so it's all works together on how you do things. So and I've forgotten the name of the group, but they're still going.
Huh.
They plan all the time with that. You talk about the marina and having a restaurant down
Yes.
there. That's one of the big problems of having a restaurant down there. There's no sewer.
I
Yeah.
know. I
And the
know.
and the only thing is it's a big tank.
And that-
and we
Yeah.
get that pumped out periodically.
And if you were
so-
to run a line, that is the end and basically only user would be of that too. would
Right,
be
yeah,
that
there's nothing in
building
between
there.
to help
That's
pay
what's
for that.
tough.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
so we have to keep looking at that. And,
For sure.
You know, and it's taxpayers' money. We got to
Yeah.
be good stewards of it.
And that's kind of wraps back around to the budget as you guys look at the
Yeah.
numbers. So what are the deadlines on these things when you start voting and stuff?
We're going to roll out, so we'll have our public hearing, I believe it's October 2nd, if that is a Tuesday.
Somewhere
That'll be our
around there?
hearing. And so just backing up from there, we'll roll out our preliminary budget, the first meeting in September, which is the 4th, right after Labor Day. So, and then if we need workshops, we can do our workshops even during our regular meetings if we need to, dive into. Our budget, like I said, is a bottom line budget. Doesn't change a whole lot. We do, look at capital projects. They're probably the biggest thing that changes. But overall, our expenses and, things in the office don't change much. So.
Sure, for sure. All right. Well, we'll keep our eyes on that as we move through the months. And Dick Taylor and Wendy Smith on the Port of Call here today. Good to see you guys.